Thank you so much, guys. Well, with the start of the new school year, every parent's worst nightmare is that their child comes home with an itchy scalp, particularly because, well, it's something that can be contracted at school. March is traditionally the time where we look at head lice, and it spreads like wildfire. And communities in South Africa, well, most of us are very wary and a little bit scared, but rarely we know how to kill the superbug or even what to look for. Well, this morning we bring in the experts to talk about our hair and also our children going to school and maybe contracting this. Cherise Feldman is in our studio this morning. 08391333728. That is the number for you to call, but we will be taking your questions as well. Cherise, welcome to the show. I almost get really nervous talking about this because I don't know what to look for. We have so many questions around this, and I mean, I know of a whole lot of people that have had it, so I can't stress it enough that one shouldn't be ashamed when you have hair lice. But let's get to the facts first. They're tiny creatures. Yes, they live in our hair, on our scalp. What exactly are lice?
So head lice are basically small insects. They're wingless, they're blood-sucking, and they live off the human scalp. So they cannot survive if they're not on the human scalp. They don't live on dogs or off the human scalp for longer than a day, 24 to 48 hours.
What are the most common ways for us to get it? I mean, we always talk about schools, and we even mentioned March is the time that they particularly come out or hatch. Now I know that it's an all-year-round disease, if one can call it that. But what's a common way for getting it?
So it's mainly found amongst school children, young school children. And I think because kids are always hugging and next to each other and rubbing heads and sharing caps and brushes, and that's the most common way, and that's why you mainly find it among school children.
We're going to be talking about this in depth, but I'm thinking of all those stuffed animals and even scarves that kids share, that it can be contracted. Head lice, second most communicable affection among school children after the common cold.
Yes, it is.
So it's common.
Yes,
we don't have to be ashamed
common
about it. What are the signs? So our children come home and they have an itchy scalp. Do I panic?
So generally, if a child comes home from school and says that their scalp is itchy, the first thing a parent thinks of is that's it, they must have lice. Generally, not all kids have an itchy scalp. The itchy scalp comes from an intolerance in the saliva. So when a lice is sucking blood off the human scalp, it makes a little hole, and the saliva that's dropped into the hole, very often kids find or have an intolerance to the saliva, which causes an itchy scalp. So not all kids will be itchy. So very often kids will have lice and they're not itchy, so you're not aware of it. So unless you're actually brushing your child's hair, washing your child's hair, will you be able to see the lice.
Okay, well, Cherise is going to help us this morning. We're going to show you how to check what to look for this morning. We're talking about lice, particularly because the kids are back at school, and it's one of the things that, you know, when they're out there, it happens. 08391333728. We want you to give us a call if you have a question or comment around this. Also, I'm learning this morning that some medicines don't actually kill them. So we're going to talk about that too this morning. There's loads more happening on the show. Over to you, Gray.